I'm Val Webb, and today we're going to draw a sketch of a petunia. A petunia is a flower that's usually associated with springtime, but actually in the southern part of the United States, it blooms all winter long. It blooms better in the winter than it does in the summer, so it makes a good wintertime sketch. We're going to be using a 2B drawing pencil and a kneaded eraser. If you don't have these tools, don't let that stop you. You can do a perfectly good sketch with a yellow school pencil and a sheet of paper from your computer printer. So just press on with whatever you have. But that's what we're going to be using for the demo. When you are doing a botanical subject, your goal is to make the most accurate rendering of what you're looking at that you possibly can. And so we'll take a second to kind of take a look at the petunia. Petunias are sort of constructed in a set of 5. It has 5 very delicate ruffled petals, 5 mid veins. You can see the line that comes out here is one of the mid veins. There's another one right here. It's one that goes kind of inscribes the center of each of those petals, and then it has 5 little sepals around the base. They look like tiny leaves, and they're down here. You can't see all of the petals in one view, but you know that they're there, and you know there are a total of 5. So we've taken a look at it. We're going to start out, anytime you're drawing a trumpet-shaped plant like this, you start out with an oval, with a sort of a long oval to describe that shape, the top shape, and then a cone underneath that sort of starts you out on the throat of the flower, the part that attaches to the stem. So in looking at this, we're going to start out with that oval, and in this case it's a little bit flattened because of the angle that we're looking at the flower from. And then you find the midpoint, the middle of the, in this case it's easy because it starts to turn a different color. It turns a pale green in the center. Make a note of where that is, and then directly below that is where this trumpet shape is going to emerge. And so we're going to draw that, and it's slightly curved. Almost nothing in nature is a straight line. You never would use a straight edge or anything like that. So you've got to draw a flower or a tree. There's always a slight curve. All right, so we've got our very basic shape. And what we're going to do is we're going to work our way around this oval, and we're going to notice this sort of landscape of negative space where there's a deep V shape, maybe, where the petals come together, and these little lumps and bumps that are right on the top. You want to be sure and make sure that it's just as irregular as the flower is. You want to resist the tendency to tidy it up. So we're going to pick a spot, and we're going to start working our way. I'm going to start right here. This petal sort of lines up with the cone shape, and that gives us a good starting point. And we'll start to just draw our way around the perimeter, and we're just noticing the ruffles. You see where the mid vein comes out there from the center. You can drop that in as well. And we're just going to work our way around, noticing basic shapes that form the silhouette of this flower. You can kind of constantly ask yourself questions as you work, and these are things that will become a habit the more that you sketch. You can imagine a horizontal line going through the center of your flower, and you can sort of compare. If something looks horizontal, imagine a true horizontal line and see how that lines up. You can compare the length to the width and sort of invent a little unit of measurement that way, so you can figure out if you have your proportions correct. Okay. Now we have the basic shape. What we've done is we followed this oval around. We've noticed wherever there's white space, and we've included it. Here's some here. Places where there's a more, not as severe, but a little bit of a drop off. Places where the petals drop down. And then you also have You can see where the color changes in the middle from this bright, bright pink as it goes down into the center of the flower, becomes a very pale yellow green. And so we're also going to include that in our sketch. And it's right down here in the center. It's just like that. Now as we start to shade a little bit, every line we're going to use is going to follow the contours of the tissue of the flower that rises out of the center toward the edges. And so that's where all my lines are going. I would never shade this way horizontally across it. There's nothing at all in this flower that's horizontal. It's entirely all on the sort of rising axis out of the center. So that's what we're going to pay attention to. And now clarify our little edges a little bit. And you'll also notice as you look around the very edges, you can see very slight shadowing, almost like a bruise out at the edge of the petal. So we're going to shade back a little bit. And once again, these petals are rolling over, breaking toward the outside. Everything's going to follow that direction. This flower has very delicate tissue, and so some of the shadows are very small. And we'll just work our way around. We're taking our cue from noticing where these lines kind of drop down from the edge. And you can see it's already starting to look more three-dimensional as we go. Put a little bit of a darker shadow on this little underside here. I'm still following that direction. Okay, and the last thing we're going to do is finish up this petal right here. And we've got a little bit of texture. You can just see it on the inside where the color changes, a few little lines. We're going to come back and we're going to add, there's a lot of shadow underneath, even though the color is pale by contrast. It's hard when you have an intensely colored flower and you're trying to draw it in black and white. Sometimes people have trouble figuring out where the shadows are, but if you look carefully, rather than concentrating on the color, just look for the lights and the darks, the places where generally you know that the underside is going to have a shadow on it usually. We're going to draw these little, you can barely see the different shapes here. Just pick them out. Forms a little cup shape down here at the base of the flower. And then we have the curve of stem going away here. You have to work quickly with petunias. They wilt very, very quickly, particularly if you're drawing in a warm room. So, all right, and our quick sketch is just about done. I'm going to take my kneaded eraser and pick up a little bit, erase a little bit of the guidelines, the little disc that we had drawn to start with. There we go. Okay, so we have a basic sketch of a petunia. If you would like to practice some more, I will be send me an email and I will send you back a printable PDF of a sheet full of tips on drawing petunias and also a link to my blog, The Illustrated Garden, where I have step-by-step directions for drawing a petunia in pencil and then coloring it with watercolor wash. Just send me a request. My email is studio@valwebb.com and I'll email those things back to you.